Most evil kings in history. King Leopold II. King Leopold II of Belgium is remembered for his personal ownership of the Congo Free State from 1885 to 1908. Under the guise of a humanitarian mission, he oversaw a brutal regime that resulted in the deaths of millions of Africans. Born in 1835, Leopold desired to establish Belgium as a colonial power. At the Berlin Conference, he convinced European leaders to grant him personal sovereignty over the Congo Basin, promising to bring civilization to the region. But Leopold's project was never about helping anyone. It was a commercial enterprise for his personal enrichment. He established a mercenary army called the Force Publique to enforce his will. His regime became infinitely more brutal with the global boom in rubber demand. The Force Publique was used to terrorize the Congolese population into meeting impossibly high rubber quotas. Those who failed were subjected to torture, kidnapping, and murder. The practice of severing the hands of men, women, and children as punishment became a horrifying symbol of the regime's cruelty. Soldiers had to prove they were doing their job, so they collected severed hands as evidence. Baskets full of them. Sometimes the hands were smoked to preserve them for the long journey back to their commanders. International outrage grew as reports and photographs of the atrocities spread across the world. Missionaries and journalists exposed the horrors. Under pressure, Leopold relinquished control to the Belgian state in 1908. The exact death toll is unknown, but estimates range from 1 to 15 million people. Leopold himself was never punished. He died peacefully in 1909, one of the richest men in Europe. His rule in the Congo Free State stands as one of the most brutal examples of colonial exploitation, a critical case study in the history of human rights abuses. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan rose from nothing to build the largest land empire in human history. His conquest stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, but this empire was built on mountains of dead bodies. Born around 1162 with the name Temujin, his early life was defined by hardship. His father was poisoned by rival tribes when Temujin was just a boy. His family was abandoned and left to starve on the frozen Mongolian steppes. He was even captured and enslaved as a teenager. But these hardships did not break him. They forged him into something the world had never seen. By his 40s, he had united all the warring Mongol tribes under his command. Then, he turned his attention outward. His military strategy was built on a foundation of absolute terror. Cities that surrendered were typically spared, but cities that resisted faced complete annihilation. Every man, woman, and child would be killed. Even the animals were slaughtered. Nothing was left alive. This policy was deliberate. Word spread fast. After hearing what happened to cities that fought back, most simply opened their gates and surrendered. Terror was his greatest weapon. His campaigns through China, Persia, and Central Asia left entire regions depopulated. Some historians estimate that his conquests were responsible for approximately 40 million deaths. That was about 10% of the entire world's population at that time. The environmental impact was so severe that forests regrew on abandoned farmland. Genghis Khan died in 1227. The location of his grave remains unknown to this day. In Mongolia, he is revered as the founder of their nation. But in much of the world, his name remains synonymous with destruction on an unimaginable scale. Tamerlane. Tamerlane, also known as Timur, was a 14th century conqueror whose brutality exceeded even that of the Mongols he sought to emulate. His methods of terror became legendary, and his name struck fear across 3 continents. Born in 1336 near Samarkand in modern-day Uzbekistan, Tamerlane rose from minor nobility to command an empire stretching from India to Turkey. He claimed descent from Genghis Khan, though this connection was likely fabricated to legitimize his rule. But unlike the Mongols, Tamerlane did not seek to build lasting governments or systems. His campaigns were focused purely on conquest, plunder, and the projection of absolute terror. His signature method was psychological warfare through unimaginable cruelty. After conquering cities, Tamerlane ordered his soldiers to sever the heads of everyone they killed. Then they would stack those heads into massive towers, sometimes reaching 30 feet into the sky. These skull towers served as warnings to anyone who might think of resisting. In Isfahan, Persia, he reportedly built towers from 70,000 skulls after the city revolted against his tax collectors. In Delhi, India, he ordered the massacre of over 100,000 prisoners in a single day before his army even entered the city. He would sometimes encase prisoners alive inside walls. By the time of his death in 1405, Tamerlane's campaigns had claimed an estimated 17 million lives. That was approximately 5% of the world's population at the time. His empire fragmented almost immediately after his death. While he left behind magnificent architecture in Samarkand, his primary legacy remains one of calculated cruelty and devastation. Queen Ranavalona. First, Queen Ranavalona I ruled the island kingdom of Madagascar for 33 years. During her reign, the population of her own country was reduced by nearly half. She is considered one of the deadliest rulers in recorded history, yet most people have never heard her name. Born around 1788, Ranavalona was adopted into the royal family and married King Radama I. After his death in 1828, she seized power and immediately began consolidating control. She was fiercely isolationist, viewing European influence as a threat to Malagasy traditions and sovereignty. Foreigners were expelled, trade was restricted, Madagascar was sealed off from the outside world. Her primary method of justice was called the Tangina ordeal. Anyone accused of a crime was forced to consume poison derived from the Tangina nut. If you survived, you were declared innocent. If you died, your guilt was confirmed. Simple as that. Hundreds of thousands of people perished from this trial alone. Ranavalona banned Christianity throughout Madagascar. Those who refused to renounce their faith faced execution or enslavement. Missionaries were expelled or killed. Her system of unpaid forced labor, called Fanampuana, worked countless citizens to death on royal construction projects. People were forced to carry heavy stones for miles. Many simply collapsed and died where they fell. When Ranavalona finally died in 1861, Madagascar's population had dropped from approximately 5 million to just 2.5 million people. Nearly half the country had perished under her rule. While some historians argue that her isolationist policies temporarily protected Madagascar from European colonization, the human cost of her reign was catastrophic beyond measure. Nero became Roman emperor at the age of just 16. His reign would become synonymous with murder, madness, and the near destruction of Rome itself. Even 2,000 years later, his name remains a symbol of tyranny. Born in 37 AD, Nero was the adopted son of Emperor Claudius. His mother, Agrippina, was instrumental in securing his position on the throne. She allegedly poisoned Claudius to accelerate her son's rise to power. Nero would later repay her by ordering her assassination. He had his own mother killed, but that was just the beginning. Nero murdered his first wife Octavia so he could marry another woman. He reportedly kicked his second wife Poppaea to death while she was pregnant. His own family members lived in constant fear. In 64 AD, the Great Fire of Rome devastated much of the city. The flames burned for 6 days, destroying countless homes and temples. Many Romans believed Nero himself had started the blaze. Why? To clear land for his massive new palace, the Domus Aurea, or Golden House. Whether or not this was true, Nero needed someone to blame. He pointed the finger at Christians. He ordered mass arrests and subjected them to horrific executions. Some were covered in animal skins and torn apart by wild dogs. Others were crucified. Some were dipped in oil and set on fire to illuminate his garden parties at night. He used burning human beings as torches. Nero's tyranny eventually united the Roman Senate and military against him. Declared a public enemy in 68 AD, he fled Rome. Cornered and facing capture, he took his own life. His final words were reportedly a lament for his own lost artistry. Nero's reign demonstrated the terrifying dangers of absolute power in unstable hands. Vlad III. Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia, is remembered by a name that speaks to his methods: Vlad the Impaler. His reign in the mid-15th century was marked by acts of extreme cruelty in a region caught between Christian Europe and the expanding Ottoman Empire. His legacy became so intertwined with folklore that it shaped the modern image of the vampire Dracula. But the historical Vlad was a real man whose brutality was a calculated tool of war and political control. Born in 1431, Vlad grew up in a volatile and dangerous world. As a boy, he was sent as a hostage to the Ottoman court, a period that profoundly shaped his ruthless worldview. His life was defined by betrayal. His father and older brother were murdered by rival nobles, instilling in him a deep and burning desire for vengeance. This early exposure to political violence also introduced him to methods of execution like impalement. Upon seizing the throne, Vlad made his intentions clear immediately. He famously invited hundreds of rival nobles to a grand feast. Once they had gathered, he had them captured and killed. Many were impaled on long wooden stakes and left to die slowly in agony. This would become his signature method. He used impalement to create forests of the dead. Visitors to Wallachia described seeing thousands of rotting bodies displayed on stakes outside city walls. This was psychological warfare against his Ottoman enemies. The sight was so horrifying that even battle-hardened soldiers refused to advance. Accounts from the era suggest his actions were responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people. Despite his cruelty, his fierce resistance against the Ottomans made him a hero to many. He was killed in battle in 1476. In Romania, he is remembered as a national hero who defended his people, but in the wider world, his name remains synonymous with cruelty, immortalized by a legend born from his brutal deeds. Caligula. Gaius Julius Caesar. Augustus Germanicus, known to history as Caligula, ruled the Roman Empire for just 4 years, yet in that brief time, he established a reputation for cruelty, madness, and excess that has endured for nearly 2,000 years. Born in 12 AD, Caligula spent his childhood among Roman soldiers. He earned his nickname, meaning little boots, from the miniature military sandals he wore as a child. After surviving the dangerous reign of his predecessor Tiberius, where he watched family members be executed one by one, he became emperor in 37 AD. His early months were marked by generosity and reform. Romans celebrated their new young ruler. Then everything changed. A severe illness transformed Caligula into something terrifying. Some historians believe the fever damaged his mind. Others suggest the sickness simply revealed his true nature. Whatever the cause, the emperor who emerged was a monster. Caligula declared himself a living god and demanded to be worshipped. He humiliated powerful senators by making them run alongside his chariot in their togas. He ordered executions at dinner parties for his own amusement, forcing guests to watch while they ate. According to ancient sources, he once condemned an entire section of spectators at the arena to be thrown to wild animals, simply because there were not enough criminals scheduled for execution that day. He reportedly attempted to appoint his favorite horse, Incitatus, as a Roman consul. The horse lived in a marble stable with an ivory manger. Some believe this was Caligula's way of mocking the Senate, showing them that even a horse could do their job. His reign of terror ended in January of 41 AD. His own Praetorian Guard, the soldiers sworn to protect him, turned against him. Caligula was assassinated, stabbed over 30 times by his own protectors. His brief reign serves as an enduring example of how absolute power combined with an unstable mind can produce horrific results. If you find this video informative, make sure to like this video and subscribe our channel for more interesting videos.